Glad you're back for another great episode of the Truck Show podcast. I've been keeping busy, capturing a lot of great content. And today's interview is awesome, entertaining, and with Joe Ghattas from SoFlo Customs out of South Florida. I interviewed him at the end of last year, and it's just been so busy, it's sort of been in the bank, so I'm glad to finally be able to get to this. These guys are known for the distinctive line of Apocalypse trucks and the Discovery TV show Truck Dynasty. And we'll get to Joe in a minute, but I just want to give you some vehicle updates and share some. We'll get to Joe in a minute, but I just wanted to give you an update on some of the vehicle stuff I've been playing with lately. And over the past couple of weeks, I've been busy with both the Jeeps in my driveway. So I've got the Gladiator that I have on loan from Jeep and Mopar, and that thing just continues to impress me. Gladiators always looked a little bit under-tired on 33s because they're kind of long and a little bit low. But this one on a Mopar 2-inch lift, 35s, and Bilsteins is just perfect. Now, I'll be honest, I love a Gladiator on 37s. I think they look perfect on 37s. But for a daily driver, for some, it might be a little bit much. And once you get past 37s, anything bigger, it's a bigger lift. It's axles, it's re-gear. You can get away with 35s and not re-gearing, and it totally drives fine. And I'm, getting respectable fuel economy on it. But I feel like the 2-inch lift and 35s, it's just the perfect daily driver package. And of course, the Bilsteins just rides great. So it's not too big for getting in and out of. In fact, my 8-year-old daughter loves climbing in. It's like a jungle gym. Oh, Dad, don't help me get in the Gladiator, right? And it's not too unwieldy for around town, and it still gives you just enough extra capability and clearance to tackle most of the trails that you might want to take your daily driver on. So it's fantastic. I'm really enjoying it, and the Gladiator is definitely at the top of my list for what I might hit next. And I think it kind of checks all the boxes for me personally. So I've been doing some mods on it, including the flated topper, which we talked about. And if you want to get some flated product, head over to truckshowpodcast.com. Under the featured products tab, we've got a discount code. I just love the topper. It gives the truck a distinct and unique look. People are always asking me about it. And when they come up and they pound on it and realize it's inflatable, they're like, well, tell me more. This is so cool. We just had a recent huge rainstorm here in SoCal, and there wasn't a drop of water in the bed. So it totally lived up to the promise of keeping your bed dry. I also love that there's tinted windows on it, so I can put stuff in the back, and people can't really see what's in there. So it just adds a little bit of a layer of security. And it's so far just been working out great. And the thing I love about the flated product is if I need full use of the bed, it's 4 straps to remove. It weighs like 40 pounds. I deflate it, and it folds up into the size of a large backpack, right? No worries about where to store it, like on the side of the house, leaned up, or in the garage space so your wife can't park there. It just works great. I just did a story on it in OVR. It'll be in the next issue if you want to know more. And then also going to be putting a Mopar exhaust on it to give the exhaust note some more character. So I'll be sharing with you guys the results of that in an upcoming episode. And we have some other Mopar products and affiliate products that are coming my way. So we'll get those installed and talk about those down the line. But I also want to talk about my 392 Wrangler because I've had a couple of wins on that one. And so after getting the Borla exhaust installed, it motivated me to get the sound deadening done. And I had done that on my 23 392, but as I said before, the 24 Plus Wranglers has additional sound deadening over what my 23 had. And I recently found my old notes from when I did the full sound skins on the doors, floors, and the hothead headliners on the roof, and where the old 392 was stock, at least some of my numbers. And I got out my decibel meter and engaged in a little science. So I was so interested in the results, I put everything in a color-coded spreadsheet. So I had stock, and I think I did 60, 65, 70, 75 were my speeds, right? So I did that. So I eventually got from stock to sound deadening with the Borla, and I'm super interested to share that with you. Now, I will say I didn't use as much sound deadening. I didn't do the full floor under the front 2 rows of seats. Did that on the old Jeep. This one already seemed pretty quiet, and so I'm not doing that for now. Plus, I didn't want to take everything out, but I did do the entire back area above the muffler. And I also did the hotheads headliner, and I also did the doors. And the doors make a pretty big difference, too. So one of the things that I haven't done yet is the rear section, the roof above the cargo area. And the reason for that is I want to have my Starlink Mini back there. And if I put in the butyl and aluminum strips, it blocks the signal through the fiberglass top. So I've been looking at different ways to mount the Starlink Mini so that it still has a clear view of the sky. And I actually figured out, wait a second, there's an ability to build a RAM mount it on the little bung where the soft top pin goes in the back roll bar, using a ball, an arm, and then the RAM mount for the Starlink Mini. you can lift it above the rear sport bar and tuck it up so it's like an inch from the top of the roof. And that way it has full clear sky. So I was thinking, well, since now it's not going to be as low as I thought it was, it's right up against the roof, I can still do the sound deadening on the right-hand side and then just not do it where the Starlink Mini is and maybe get a little bit quieter. So I'm going to experiment with that and see what the difference is and how that goes with the sound deadening and the Starlink Mini in the position that I want. So that's kind of fun, I think, trying to figure out these things. So here's the numbers, because I figured you would probably be interested, because I know a lot of people are like, does that stuff really work? And it does. I mean, it makes a pretty big difference. I mean, the 23 over the 25 is about a decibel and a half to 3 decibel difference, depending on the speeds. And that's incredibly noticeable. So here's what I got. My notes said that on my 23 392, my old one, stock, it was 75 decibels at 75 miles per hour with the stock exhaust closed, and 76 decibels at 75 miles an hour with the stock exhaust open. Compare that to stock closed on the new one, 73. So compare that to 75. And then 75 and a half, compare that to 76. And so around town with the exhaust closed or on the freeway, it's not bad at all. So I went and put the Borla in it, and I had registered from 60, 65, 70, 75, 69 and a half, 71, 71.8, 73. Stock open was 70 and a half, 73.3, 73.9, and a 75.7 at 75. So stock open was just like half a decibel quieter. And I'm sure the margin for error on decibels on a non-professional decibel meter is probably 1 decibel anyway, maybe a little bit more. So with the Borla exhaust closed and no sound deadening, I went from at 65 miles an hour, 71 to 72.5, and at 75, 73 to 76.2. So the Borla at lower speeds was close to stock, but it was quite a bit louder at highway speeds. And then when you open it up, it was insane. So 65 on the Borla open, no sound deadening, was 76.2, and at 75 cruising was 81.6. It was like, woohoo. So anyway, I did the sound deadening on the doors, and all 4 doors across the board dropped about a decibel or so. And so I thought that was pretty good. All right, so let's look at the final numbers. Final for today. I may add sound deadening in a few other strategic places, but this is the new 392 Borla exhaust closed with full sound deadening, or sound deadening to today. So at 60 miles an hour, it was 69.4, and I got it down to 69.9. At 65, it was 71. It's at 71. 71.8 at 70 to 73.1. So once you get up there, it gets a little bit louder. So that's a 102% change. And then at 75, it's 73 decibels to 73.9. That's 101% change. But when you consider where it was with the Borla, across the board, with sound deadening, if you go Borla stock versus Borla with sound deadening, I dropped it 2% in every category. So it's 98% of what the Borla sound was, except for it's 97% when you're at 75 miles per hour. So anyway, I know it's a lot of numbers. It probably doesn't make for great podcasting, but I love the data and I love sharing that with you. And it's fun to see it on my color-coded chart. So if you want to have something that sounds great, but you want it a little bit more serene in the cabin, there's definitely some options out there, and sound deadening on your truck or your Jeep is a great way to make it a little nicer and less fatiguing on those long trips and to enjoy your vehicle. And the other part is a lot of the outside noises, like wind noise, is almost gone, and some of the other stuff. So I just hear like clean exhaust. And looking forward to driving to Eastern Jeep Safari this year and enjoying my nice quiet Jeep on a road trip. All right, next up from the Jeep, I've got some suspension bits going on from Bilstein and Apex. So we'll talk about those down the line. And I've got a super rad American Adventure Lab build that Britt and I have been working on. And so hopefully that's coming in the next month or two, and so much going on. So, all right, before we get into the show and welcome Joe, we need to, of course, thank the companies that make the Truck Show podcast possible. The Truck Show podcast is proudly brought to you in partnership with AMSOIL, the maker of the best synthetics and the same ones we use in our rigs. Did you know AMSOIL is more than just synthetic oil? They also make some of the finest lubricants, greases, additives, filters, car care products, and yes, even great merch. We use AMSOIL products to protect our rigs, and you can do the same by heading to AMSOIL.com. Do you need a knife? Then head on over to Kershaw.kiusa.com and explore their line of exceptional pocket knives. They have a huge selection of quality knives from EDCs to Made in America and automatics. Score one for yourself today. And if you want to treat yourself to the latest in adventure gear and upgrades for your vehicle, go to OVRMag.com and use the code @TruckShowPodcast for a discount on print or access for 1 year to our digital library for free. Please help me to keep the Truck Show Podcast free by supporting our sponsor or leaving reviews on Apple or Spotify. And don't forget to check TruckShowPodcast.com for the latest deals.
The Truck Show. We're going to show you what we know. We're going to answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel, electricity, and on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
It's the Truck Show with your host, Holman.
I love doing the Truck Show. I'm talking to you guys weekly and talking trucks, sitting in my backyard. Although I do miss having my friends. I need to get Mike Rice back in here and maybe get Jay back in here because it's always more fun with somebody else. But this episode with Joe Ghattas was great. It was one of those ones where I didn't know Joe and we felt like we were fast friends or old friends for a long time. We just hit it off, and it was fun talking to him about the crazy stuff they're doing there in South Florida. And hopefully you'll find it as entertaining as I did. So please welcome to the show the exuberant Joe Ghattas and his story right out of South Florida. All right, on the Truck Show Podcast today, please welcome Joe Ghattas from SoFlo Customs out of South Florida, a company known for crazy, over-the-top 4x4 and 6x6 builds for high-end customers. Then you guys are also the subject of a new Discovery Channel show, Truck Dynasty, so 6 episodes, and I definitely want to figure out how you got involved in that deal because that's produced by Scott Brothers Entertainment, and yes, those Scott brothers, Drew and Jonathan from Property Brothers. So we got a lot to talk about. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, I before we get started, everybody gets a jingle, so we got to play your jingle. Hang on one sec.
Yo, the Truck Show. Who dis? Who dis? Who the hell is this? A Truck Show interview you don't want to miss. We talk to top dogs in the industry. How'd you blow up? How'd you come to be? Who dis? Who dis? Truck Show represent.
How you like that jingle for you, Joe?
I love it. I love it. Kind of tells me exactly what I got to do now. It's perfect.
Now you got to live up to it, right?
Right.
All right, we'll get to the TV show second, but walk us through SoFlo. I know people probably know you by one of your creations, the Apocalypse 4x4 and 6x6 builds. You've seen them out there either at SEMA or on social. Crazy trucks, Jeeps, all sorts of stuff. And you guys have a few dealers down in Florida, and then you have one manufacturing facility out there. So maybe walk us through, how'd you get started? What's the business model, and how did you get hooked up with your in-laws who are a big part of your business as well?
The business is part of my life. So I've been building trucks with my dad since we were kids. Always been obsessed with vehicles and trucks. I got into the car dealership world early on. I worked my way through car dealership, every position there was to have there, the finance manager, general manager, service, drive, you name it. And then I went to open up my own little store to sell cars. In the back of the store, it was the first time I had like a space where I could work on cars, and it was like my space. I could just do stuff to it. So it was, my first car, second car, my brother's, all cars have been Wranglers. So finally I had a space, start working on Wranglers, and I'm just building up a little Project Wrangler in the back all the time. And people would come in, because we're running, ads on Auto Trader, whatnot, to sell the stuff I was selling. It was a small dealership with like 4 or 5 exotic cars, right? It's cars that I would just drive around the country to find. And, in a distressed situation, you want to unload your Ferrari. Okay, great. I'd buy it.
All those guys who realized that the first maintenance was due and they went, whoa, right? Because how many, or it was like probably a Mercedes S-Class where the air suspension accumulator went out and you got to do it right. It's all those kind of like edge cases where the car has value if you can fix it at a good price to turn it, because otherwise they're worthless.
I feel like you were there. That is exactly the air, one sitting on airbags. You're like, perfect. I know
Yeah,
exactly. What you
I
need.
know
The
exactly what
power
it is.
top won't come up, and you've given up on her. Bring her in. Oh, the
I'm
clutch
your guy.
ice of the car. Got you. Bring her in.
Yeah, right on.
So I'd had those, and people would come in and look at them, and they'd see my Jeep project in the back, and say, like every guy on my street's got one of these. What's that back there? And it wasn't really for sale until it was for sale. The guy makes me an offer and buys my project car, so I start another one with new fresh money to go buy cooler and better goodies on it this time, and then another one and another one until finally I stopped buying the exotic cars completely, and it was weird because I didn't necessarily design all the Jeeps, right? It was people would come in and see one or two. It would already be sold as it was. And they would say, yeah, love that, but do this, 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 this. I'm like, perfect, because this was already sold. Happy to build you the next one. And we build the next one, the next one, next one. My car wash guy became a mechanic. He was like, put down the rag, help me put on bumpers, help me do lift kits. And my sales guy, mechanic, anybody I hired at that point was basically I hired you if you were a mechanic. And then, like, if you talked good, you're a sales guy too.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm sure it's funny when you probably got into, you thought, okay, I'm going to get these distressed supercars. I'm going to flip them, and that's going to allow me to buy more inventory. And you probably were just going to try and ride that wave of kind of getting deeper into that and getting more expensive, nicer cars to build yourself up. And then all of a sudden you find yourself building custom Jeeps, and you probably, I'm sure it happened organically, but I'm sure there was a point where you looked and go, well, this isn't exactly what I thought I'd be doing, but here we are.
I was so happy about it. I left the dealership world to open up my own thing, not because I wanted to make $1 million. It was because I didn't want to work on Sundays anymore.
Yeah.
And, if I could figure I could do something I'm into, plus the Jeep customer,
Totally
I,
different.
I like them. I was like,
Yeah.
we could actually be friends. We could hang out outside of just doing a car deal together. And you did events together. It was a small following, right? It was building 1 to 2 Jeeps a week, maybe at best, right? But at the end of 3-4 months, you've got a handful of guys that are driving your Jeep, and we get together, go out to the Everlegged, see what we can break, see what the next one ought to have in it, and that's how it grew, and it just got a little bigger from there. I brought a buddy of mine down from high school to help me do it. He was always a truck guy. Me and him used to tinker on trucks in the driveway back in the day, and then I met Ashley, my wife. And she was, her life has been around the car business her whole life. So hanging out with her was like being at work. Like we would just be at my shop hanging out. And now, so all of a sudden, you didn't really mind working 60, 70 hours a week because you're there with your chick, right?
Yeah, right.
And then her family starts trickling in. Oh, he was in a car dealership his whole life. This guy was in a car dealership his whole life. Jerry, I'm going to tell you, oddly enough, is the only one of them I went out of my way. Like, Jerry, I know you have a full-time gig. I would love for you to quit that gig and come do car shit with me. He was just like a very creative, funny guy. And I was like, well, if you can make those jokes, you could probably do social media or something, right? But yeah, that's how it grew. That's how it grew. Her father-in-law came down, father-in-law, dealership general manager his whole life. And, organically here on a shop floor, most of the guys that I would say, they're my Jesse James guys. They're just figure it out, artistry when it comes to welding. We're guys that were just, basic mechanics when they first started here. And we learned so much together, over, a couple of thousand vehicles we put on the road. My product today doesn't look anything like it did, 5-6 years ago. Our testing cycles and things that we do, to prove it out, and harmonic vibrations and temperatures of bearings and whatnot, has really just come a long way. So our product today is very different than back in the day. But the crew that's with me are the original guys, and they're hired. My brother also works on cars. My cousin also works on cars, and that's how the team grew. And we've got a group of really, really talented guys, like probably some of the most talented dudes I've ever met in a shop. As far as here's the problem, solve it. Yes, I know it doesn't belong there, but you're going to make it work anyways. Those are the guys I've gotten.
That's awesome. What year did you guys start?
2010, 2011-ish. Yeah, 2010, 2011. Yeah.
Do you know where some of your first builds are? Like, are they still customers, or have they come back to you and said, hey, I want you to redo this one. It's, it's 10 or 15 years old or whatever. I mean, do you have any connection to some of your original projects?
Yes. As a matter of fact, the guy who bought maybe my third Wrangler, right?
Okay.
He shipped it out to Durango, Colorado. And last Christmas, we were out in Colorado, and I called him up, and he was like, Joe, I have that truck. It's right here. And I was like, I'm driving to you. I'm going to come see you. We go mess around with this thing. Because, I'm there in a rental car. And I was like, could I borrow it for a day? But yeah, we've stayed in touch with all the the first customers who's just me talking to them, them talking to me. You describe what you want, I build it, and then when you're done with it in a couple of years, I trade it in and do something bigger and badder and crazier. Typically it was always an upgrade in horsepower. That's kind of how the Apocalypse thing started. It was like the original group of customers drove it for a couple of years. That's awesome. Okay, you sold a bunch like mine. I want mine to be more.
I want mine different and
right?
bigger and more monstrous than what you gave me, right?
Right. Can you make it a six-wheeler? And I was like, when we got to the guy who requested the six-wheeler, he was like one of the original customers and built him a few cars and built him even like one of those old military H1s.
Oh yeah.
And the six-wheeler thing, I was like, dude, I want to do it for you. I do. But it makes no sense to me to add another set of wheels to the car that are just rolling along for the ride. It is now less capable than it once was.
Right.
So that's what started this long, slow engineering project of how to make a true tandem drive, how to make this thing, hold up at 95 miles an hour and not run too hot and not vibrate and all that. And we when we got it right, it took years. The first edition of it went down the road, but wasn't perfect, right? But when we got it right, we patented it, and it's something we still use to this day.
And that's important to note is you guys aren't building tag axles. These aren't just following along. You guys are making true 6x6s where you've got a differential and a prop shaft coming out of the first diff, and so it's legitimately a 6x6, and that's it's not just for looks. It actually works.
Yeah. I mean, we got an education on metallurgy and heat treating and all the rest of that to make those shafts just right. But yes, they are true. When you hit the gas, all four tires in the back go at the same time. And then whatever clutch pack you want me to put in there, if you want to put lockers or run a true pack in the middle, locker in the back. But yeah, all four are engaged all the time.
That's awesome. So what was the kind of progression of the company? So you started out in this little shop. You've got kind of these Jeep projects. Now you're starting to build a customer base. Now you've got customers coming back for their second round saying, okay, what's next? Where did you really feel like you guys had made it or turned the corner? And when did it become like known as the 6x6 guys out of Florida, right? Like these big monster apocalypse trucks.
I built a handful of these Apocalypse, and they're really like I built them for friends. You're a friend of mine / customer, and you wanted something ridiculous, and I'd build you a 6x6 with your flavor to it. And then I got a call from somebody at Jay Leno's operation there and said, hey, how would you guys like to come out to California and do the Jay Leno show? And I was like, Jay Leno to me is, he is all things car. So I was like, yeah, of course, I would absolutely love to do that. And it was actually for a segment between him and Bob Saget out in the desert. He had old Willys and he wanted mine next to it to be like this ridiculous contrast, right? And he puts Bob Saget in mine and he's driving the old Willys. And
I remember that, by the way. I remember that one.
Yeah, he drove over everybody's TV equipment, by the way. So awesome. When we're done recording the segment, I'm not in it at all. Just I'm there to provide the vehicle, and that's it. He goes, hey, what are you doing Monday? And I figure he's like about to give me an awesome restaurant recommendation. He's like, you should stick around. I do this show at my garage. Let's do it. Jay Leno tells you stick around, you stick around.
Stick around, yeah.
And we did that. After that, it slowly just had this steady burn, steady increase, steady burn. There's a lot of custom shops out there, right? We decided what was going to distinguish us. We're not the first person to make a six-wheeler. We're not the first person to put crazy fenders, 40-inch tires, all the rest of it. What really distinguish us is that we marry the car. We marry the car, meaning whatever happens, you're with us. You just call me and we go back and forth like it should be, because at the end of the day, I don't look at this like as a transactional automobile purchase. Look more of it as like, you bought a cool toy from us, and I can build 5 more trucks. I probably can't find you again. So let's keep you happy, and we'll keep doing toys together.
No, I think that's a great way to look at it. I think there's so many people. I feel like the gentleman's agreement or the handshake isn't the same as it used to be, and people don't honor it that way. And everything's like, oh no, here's your warranty form. Oh, here's the fine print. No, we're not going to cover that. But to your point, you're dealing with a client that you want to have a lifetime relationship with. You rather make a little bit of money lots of times than make a lot of money up front and then lose them and never see them again, right?
Exactly. And if the guys like me and you, we know this is not our last toy.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got problems for sure. Now, I'm curious. When it comes to the 6x6, I know you do them ridiculously big, bold, in your face, right? Like that's part of the show.
You need that, right?
you want to roll into the show and you want everybody to look at you. But I'm kind of curious. Have you had like any like fleet or military or anybody that has some extra like need for capability say, hey, can you just make my regular truck a 6x6, or are you always sort of in that like custom truck space?
I've done a bunch for hunting guys,
Okay.
and we use the long bed to do like a deer blind that pops up.
Cool.
Like a
Okay.
collapsed deer blind that's in there, right? And it's not as wild and let me just say it's not as Miami looking as the rest of the stuff I built, right? Um, and it's a tighter wheel, it's under the fender, and it's a 37 instead of a 40 and all that, but it's a very capable vehicle. Gets these guys to remote spots they want to get to, and then boom, the deer blind pops up and you're up there,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've done. I mean, stuff for the police department. They're never into the six-wheeler stuff. We've done, like bulletproofing for like 60 vehicles, things
Sure.
like that, but not really. I mean, we built them Jeeps, right? Regular Jeeps because they go cruising the beach with them and stuff like
Yep.
that. Never done a six-wheeler like for military just yet. Wait, I'm sorry. I have done. There was a guy who's like the leader of a country. I wish Jerry,
I feel like a really good story's coming on here.
anyhow, he was like, I need it bulletproof. I need you to build me 3 of these bulletproof. They're for my, personal escort / militia. And we got to hear his story, and he's like the leader of this country now because they just killed the last guy, and so he's the guy now. And so he was very serious about how this bulletproofing was done. We didn't do any of like the mesh style bulletproofing. We did 1/2 inch steel.
Yeah, it wasn't like the Kevlar. You're using
Oh, so much metal in this car. This thing weighed so much. The glass that we put in this thing was, 2.5 inches.
like multiple layers of lamination, and the doors
Yes.
probably weighed 400 pounds each.
I had to change the axles when I was done, to all Fab 9s with, 3.25 inch, and the springs had to be, springs that didn't belong to that vehicle at all. It was so incredibly heavy, but it was awesome. We took it out to the Fort Lauderdale Police Department shooting range, and I let him shoot at it because, before I ship it to the guy, I really wanted to convey to him, like, hey, I promise you.
I promise the round will go through.
The conversation was like, if it doesn't work, you won't be alive to write me the Google review. So, like, let me just show you that it works. And they unloaded on the car, and she held up. It was pretty cool.
Oh man, that all right. That's a good one. That's a good story. I noticed that on some of your builds, you've done like got it into the pickup trucks. So like Ram looked like you had maybe a TRX or something like that you had in one of the video promos for the show.
Yeah.
And then also you're doing a lot of big engine swap type stuff too, right?
Yep. Why do I love the TRX? Because she comes right out of the box, a Dana 60 in the back,
Yep.
and it's got a Hellcat under the hood, right? So just all you got to do is inject awesome from here and go, right?
And it's coming back.
Yes, isn't that awesome?
Yeah, no, that is that's a huge thing. When I saw the news release, it was like, I was all ready for it.
We got one of those RHOs, the one that they made in.
They're cool. RHO's cool, but I always tell people when they say, "Well, how does it compare to the TRX?" I would basically say RHO is a regular Raptor, and the TRX is a Raptor R. Both are great trucks in their own right, but they're not the same truck, right? The V8 is a monster. I had a TRX when I was at 4-Wheeler Magazine for a year. It was my 1R 4-Wheeler of the year. And I used that thing. I put almost 30,000 miles on it. And I used it I towed with it. I used it as a daily driver. I went out into the desert, jumped it a gazillion times, pre-ran some of our events with it. And I still to this day think that was probably the best all-around truck I've ever had. It didn't, other than going fast, it didn't really excel. It didn't have the most payload. It didn't have the most towing. It didn't have, but it was docile as a kitten around town until you stomped on it and became alive. And you could take it anywhere, and it was fully skid plated, and I love that truck. It's to me like sort of one of the best trucks ever made, especially in the off road space. It really is.
I couldn't agree with you more. When we got behind the wheel of that thing the first time, I was like, there's something here. There's something like exhilarating about this truck. You start the RHO, not so much. I was like,
yeah, the sound isn't quite the same, is it?
I'm not connecting with this thing.
I know. I mean, it's nice in the turbos, the way they hit. It comes on like a freight train, and it's so quiet. You kind of don't know how fast you're going, right? Where the TRX, I could listen to it and tell you how fast I'm going. In the RHO,
Right.
you're kind of isolated, so you're like, oh, I'm doing 90, right? And the TRX was like, "Brrr,
The RHO had the stats. The Hellcat just had the feeling all the time.
Yeah, all the time, yeah. And you can get that rumble, even idling at a stoplight or whatever. And I remember, so I used to back into my driveway, right? and I'd fire it up cold start in the morning because I never wanted it to be driving it cold because it's got a performance engine in it. And we had our garage doors replaced on our house. And my neighbor, this old guy down the street, walks over. He goes, "New garage doors?" I'm like, "Yes, sir." He goes, "What'd you do? Dent them with that exhaust?" I'm like, "Oh, you can hear that? Sorry."
So you're up when I'm up.
Yeah. So apparently we hung out at the same time in the morning, just not together. So what are some of the common engine builds you do? I'm guessing Hellcats into Jeep is probably a pretty common one.
Yep. Do a ton of Hellcats and Jeeps. 392 swap into a Gladiator Wrangler platform.
Yeah.
We perfected it. We perfected. I'm really happy with the kit that we've got. The wiring harness all plug and play. The software's OEM. You go through emissions with it. Really nice setup. I like that one. I'm working on right now. I've got a 5.0 sitting in the engine bay of a 2024 Bronco.
Oh yeah.
And does she start? Yes. I'm working on all the rest of it.
Yeah. Well, there's some guys I think down in might have been, was it? I can't remember where, but they
The Raptor one.
Yeah, they shipped a 7.3 and a Raptor. Man, that 7.3 engine is pretty bad. Is pretty badass, and considering its overhead valve, right? It's a little narrower at the shoulders than the 5-liter, which has those big old dual overhead cam heads on it. And I'm like, could you imagine a 7.3 in a Bronco? I mean, I was part of this panel with Ford years and years ago for about 5 years for Bronco development, and we got this close to getting the 5-liter in the Bronco, and that would have been the one that I would have wanted. And the Bronco's cool. I got a Wrangler 392, so I'm okay. But yeah,
You got that setup basically. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I love Ford. I love the Bronco, but man, there's something about getting behind a lifted Jeep Wrangler with 470 horsepower. And I had a friend of mine who picked me up. He has a Maserati Ghibli, and he was like, "Oh, look at how fast." I'm like, "Wait till you go for a ride in my 392 where it feels like this, but you're 3 feet higher off the ground,
And you're all-wheel drive. You're not slipping at all. You're just down the road, man.
Well, that's the best part, And it's funny because on the 392, because it obviously doesn't have independent suspension, if you cut a corner under acceleration, it'll lift the inside front up off the ground, and you're like, "Oh, I could probably land this thing."
You know what I love that they did on that car is they put the CV in that front axle. I know some people just live and die by the U joint, but like that CV makes all the difference because you can be in 4-wheel drive and be driving, at speed and doing your thing.
Well, I remember when I went to see the JLs before they came out, and there was a bunch of mules and like kind of the chassis, and I noticed that it had the CVs that said, "Oh, we're doing this on all the full-time cases." So they designed that CV axle to be about 90% as strong as a U-joint, but it has, the ability to not have crow hop and things like that. So it makes it a better driver. And, if you're on a mountain road and you're in the full-time, 4-wheel drive setting in that, or on a Rubicon or a 4xe, it just drives really nice like an all-wheel drive car. Like it's great in the snow and twisty roads and things like that. And I love having that capability because I still have regular 4-wheel drive and lockers if I need it, but just driving on the road on ice or snow, it's so nice to have all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So what's
I like your garage, by the way.
I've got a 1941 flat fender that I'm working on right now that has a Buick Oddfire V6 in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean it's silly. And that thing, it sounds like a UPS truck when it's running, and so I'm working on that. And I've got a stillborn F100 67 to 72 with the EcoBoost in it that I got to finish one of these days too. But you know how projects go.
Did you say stillborn at the beginning?
Yeah. It basically it's basically been sitting for about 5 years, might even be 6 or 7 now, and we got to a point, and then everything ceased to move forward, and I got to figure that out. But I'm sure you probably have a few in the back lot that you walk.
Oh,
I know. I got to get back to you.
Walk past it, a little bit of shame. You're like, come on.
You have to cover your face when you walk by.
Right. No, nobody bought you yet. You're fine. You'll be all right.
All right. So those are the sad soldiers. Let's not talk about them. Do you have any of your kids? Talk your vehicle kids, not your real kids, but do you have any of them that you're super proud of that are your favorite build? We went, you know what? We nailed that, or I wish I would get that one back because that one was so good that should be here.
Yes. I mean, that position changes for me every, 8-9 months. But right now, I'm absolutely in love with this we called it the Speedster, but the Speedster Cheetah, right? So it's a Hellcat packed into, a Wrangler chassis, right? But extended, push the front axle out 6 inches, bring the back one out 8 inches. The rear tires are just under the rear bumper, right? You have to like shave the rear bumper so they would fit. And 700 something horsepower, took it down to the boys at American Muscle Tuning. The smaller pulley, bigger injector, the killer chiller on there, just more than this 5,000-pound package could ever need, right? And then 488 gears, just so it's obnoxious, and 38's 15 and a half inch wide. I love that car. I love that car. And what we did is, because I wanted it to be a low slung, like low center of gravity kind of thing, but still be capable, right? Because you sit on 38-inch tires. So we took the spring hats, raised them up. We put everything, instead of, using shorter springs, we just used the full size, 4.5-inch lift kit, but made the spring hats higher, raised shocks higher, had the motor sit a little bit higher to get clever with the.
I know you did. Is you moved that front axle forward because the wheelbase for stability, but you wanted to clear the oil pan, so you still had up travel with low CG, huh?
That's it. The oil,
yeah.
that oil filter. I had to find a way around them. So going longer helped me both ways.
Yeah, right on. Right.
And I love that car because I get in it, and it's, to me, I feel like I'm every bit of a sports car, right? Like I've got more horsepower than I need. I can walk most anything down the road, but then I can hop the curb and do some off roading. You can go hit a trail with it. It's light with a big footprint, so the chance of that little girl getting stuck is slim to none.
And I know you're in Florida, the land of the free people, but how friendly are you with your local police officer association?
The best. These guys get a new Jeep built every year. and it's reciprocating. The Fort Lauderdale Police Department has been nothing but good to us. So many years ago, I don't know if you got time for a short story.
Yeah, totally. Always, we love stories here.
I come into the shop in the morning, and three cars are missing right off the front line. And so I start doors busted open. Okay, so got some Jeeps stolen. Called Fort Lauderdale Police Department. The guy came in through a vent in the top. He cut himself on the way in.
That's like freaking spy movie stuff.
Yeah, to steal some Jeeps, right? And cuts himself, bleeds a little bit, right? And first police officer was there. I was like, "Can you do something like with the DNA?" He's like, "Dude, we don't do that unless somebody got murdered, right? You got insurance, you can be fine here." Meanwhile, my insurance company was like, "No, there's no gate. You're not covered." So the Fort Lauderdale Police Department actually did a DNA thing on him, looked the guy up, found him on social media. On social media, he was posting pictures of the cars that he had just stolen, and they got all my cars back. So, it goes both ways, less than the police department. They've definitely hooked us up pretty sweet.
That's awesome. What if I'm a new customer and I'm coming to you and I'm like, Joe, I got this idea for a rig, and let's just say it's for the sake of the Truck Show podcast, it's a Ram TRX, and we start talking through what I want it to be, and what is the price range that they could be, from mild all the way up to the end, and then how do you choose components and tires and what goes on it, and is it different at a lower end package because that customer's going to use it differently versus a high end guy that is all about the show? Like what's that process like?
That process starts out with your use case, right? I'll start with the pricing. A TRX out of the box is about $110,000, $120,000, right? I'll go to the top of the scale, right? My Juggernaut. It's a 6-wheel drive monstrosity based off of a TRX, right? And that thing is $240,000, and it's got everything but the kitchen sink on there. So price, I would say that's one. I do a TRX that I think is pretty badass, right around the 149, 150 mark, and then we go all the way to 250. The use case determines the parts I'm going to put on this thing, right? You're a guy who's in Colorado and you're running 10 miles of gravel road regularly, or you go wheeling and you need lockers and you need all the the heavy duty stuff. That's what we're going to put on the truck, right? If you are like, listen, man, I go to the beach and I'd like to take the doors and the top off. Occasionally I might dip my toe in the sand or do a little trail in there, but ultimately, like, 20 miles a gallon is what's important to me. The tire selection, what we spend on that suspension is all going to match to that. And there's a suspension I developed that's just a series of parts we've assembled that drives really well, right? You can run 38 or 40-inch tires and do 95 miles an hour down the highway. That's a certain use case, right? I want the look with the 40-inch tires, and I want to be able to, daily drive this thing. There's a suspension and a setup that we do for that. That's not, the use. The guy says, no, I'm going to use this thing. I'm going to put my tent on top and go. We're never going to put 40s on that thing, right? Tires are going to stick out past the fenders. We are going to be running, different shocks with reservoirs. We are going to be running a whole different selection. But the world is your oyster when it comes to parts, right? I'm not married to any. There's certain parts that I'd say I'll steer you away from. Say, you usually end up having to replace those. I wouldn't do those, but
Yeah.
And then there's certainly tires. So we'll come up with a tire brand they're like, yeah, but these are $200 a tire. I'm like, there's a reason they're $200.
Yeah, and when you're doing a high end build, let's put the right tires on this thing.
I can get them for you, but you're not gonna love them.
Don't be cheap about the wrong stuff, right?
Right.
It's like my wife will buy herself a nice set of Louboutins or something like that, or a nice purse as a gift to herself every year. Good for her. I love it. But then I'm like, hey, I need some Dr. Pepper. She goes, it was like $8 in the store. I'm like, hey, you're being cheap about the wrong stuff. I need my Dr. Pepper fix, all right?
I got Mr. Pepper instead.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need Mr. Pepper. Oh man. So I know you guys have done some Broncos. I know you guys have done pickups. I know you guys have done Wranglers. What are your top donor vehicles? Like what people are coming to you, and what are the most popular things to start with for one of your builds?
Wrangler, Gladiator, Bronco, TRX, and as of very recently, F-150.
Oh, interesting.
That is the meat and potatoes right there for us. Wrangler, Gladiator, Bronco, TRX, F-150. I had a very short, and I would say very short soiree with Rivian. The Rivian vehicle itself is very well engineered.
Yeah,
right?
it really is.
It really, when I got underneath that vehicle and like there's components that match the Lamborghini SUV as far as the suspension goes, that torque vectoring that they figured out, like it's a pretty impressive car. I did a couple lifted Rivians and we made our own spindles and did all that, but it fell flat on its face. So that didn't go anywhere. The Hummers, the electric Hummers, I love that car. My wife drives that vehicle. That's sitting in my garage at home. I love it. That's the electrics are different to lift because you've got this whole subframe that goes with the motor.
Yep.
And if you can get that down, she's going to drive like the way she was born. The aromatic suspension, everything is going to work properly. You just got to get the geometry back right. Spindles, control arms. But yeah, the Wranglers, Gladiators, Broncos, TRXs, and as of recently, I've started, doing a couple of those Raptor R's, regular.
Oh
Raptor.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Have you done, like, if somebody came with you, they're like, hey, this is my grandpa's old K10 or something like that. Like, has there been something weird that somebody just brought and said, hey, I know you don't do these normally, but do this one up for me?
Oh yeah. There's this Wagoneer.
I love Wagoneers.
Yeah, like the Woodside.
Yeah.
Wagoneer. And
360 and turbine wheels, and oh yeah, the biscuit leather seats. Sign me up.
At first, the guy, it was all over the place. He was like, look, I've got this Tesla at home and I want you to take all the Tesla stuff and stick it in this car. And I know this customer. I was like, dude, we just did this to a Gladiator for you. And pretty soon they're going to just make this car electric. So why are we doing this, right?
Yeah.
Let's make this thing badass. So we ended up, I actually started with a Wrangler chassis. I'm sorry, Gladiator chassis on this one because the wheelbase, the way it worked out. Started with a Gladiator chassis. I did a D-glove, re-glove. So where all that came with the Gladiator was your chassis and your firewall and dash.
Yeah.
Everything else was Wagoneer. So when you got in the car, your Wagoneer seats, Wagoneer doors, Wagoneer everything, but your dash is, push button start.
JL and has all the
water. Yeah, exactly. And then we threw a 392 in it, put an 8 HP 75 in it, with a Dana 60 rear axle. And I thought it was an awesome truck, right? It took me a lot longer to build. It's not something that gets done in a reasonable amount of time here, but when it was finished, it's a showstopper and you fire this thing up. It's amazingly fast. I don't know why that car is faster than the regular, when I throw a 392 in a Gladiator, that particular car was very, very fast. And maybe because we were only running like, a 32-inch tire at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Probably didn't hurt.
That's awesome. So let's talk about the show. How did that happen? How did you get hooked up with Discovery? And did the Scott brothers find you, or you've got this shop down in South Florida? You're turning out wild head turning stuff, and I'm guessing a TV producer probably knocked on your door one day and went, "Hey,
That's about right. That's
okay,
about right. That's during COVID. So Jerry Jr., my brother-in-law, likes to take a ridiculous amount of vacation time. So anytime he wants to go on vacation, kind of give him like an impossible task. And I'm like, then you can take your 3-4 weeks off consecutively if that's what we're trying to get done here. And the last time I was like, well, get us on TV, get a car show or something. I don't know, let's feature our car with Jesse James Monster Garage or something. I don't know, figure out how to get us on TV. And then in his inbox is like 3 emails from the Scott brothers, like, hey, would you guys be interested in this?
you're like, man, I didn't give him a hard enough assignment."
Right. He comes back, he's like, hey, they want to like do a couple of Zoom. This was the first time I was introduced to, Zoom meetings. And we recorded some version of a Sizzler by just interviewing all of us through these Zooms. It was during COVID. And they put something together and came back and said, hey, Discovery Channel wants to do a TV show. You into it? We're like, yeah, why not? I didn't know what I was signing up for.
Yeah,
How much of the shop's time, effort, and energy it would take over. So
all of
the
it.
original pilot, yeah, was like quite time consuming to do. But then after that, the episodes were just wrapped around whatever we were doing at that time. And
So
it
they
was
weren't like specially made for TV. It was kind of like we'll let the shop drive the storyline, which is really cool because I was at Motor Trend for 20 years and Discovery bought us, and a lot of our shows we interfaced with a lot of the TV shows, and it was always interesting to see there was a kind of a difference between how Motor Trend approached shows like Roadkill and things like that, where failure was always an option, right? Like it was okay to not make the build, whereas the Discovery shows felt like they were more curated and they were more like, no, we can never fail. You have to have a payoff at the end, right? And so it was always interesting to see that dynamic between the two different types of shows. Of this one showed like the everyday guy kind of failure is okay, and this one showed these builds have to happen, and we got a TV deadline. So I think a lot of enthusiasts are always curious, like, what does that look like from how's the sausage made, and to hear that they kind of followed you on whatever was in the shop is pretty cool.
well, we were nobodies, right? We're not, we can't say, hey, are you guys going to pay for this, $80,000 bill? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to show you some stuff that people have called me about and would like to buy. And if I can land a customer on it, I'll build it, and we'll film how it happens. And that's how it happened. Every truck that we built for that show was sold to a real life customer who, matter of fact, had to wait to take delivery to finish recording a few bits, but then finally got to take their vehicle home. The only one that was not was the boat truck. That was just a bad idea from the beginning to the end because it does some truck stuff and it does some boat stuff. Neither very, very well.
Yeah, I saw that you had built a was it a Jeep for Guy Fieri as well? That looked
Yeah.
like a pretty wild build.
Yeah, yeah, and like you see him when they do interviews with him back in his house. He's like he likes to say this is his favorite car, which I love that.
Yeah.
Those guys like Guy Fieri and Shaq in particular, you weren't dealing with like their agent or their buddy or their guy. It was them. They were calling like, "Hey, you think you can do this? You think you can add that?" And you're like, "Yeah, it's you, man. Sure."
You know how it is. I've dealt with celebrities on the magazine side where we've done some builds for them in collaboration, and it's a PR person calls you, and then you're dealing with like their manager or person, and you hardly ever get on the call with the actual client, and you're like, "Well, I'm building this to represent you." "Oh yeah, my people handle it." And that was the only time you ever talked to the dude, and it kind of makes the build feel inauthentic because it's not really for them. It's just for the publicity, which is fine. That's business. I get it. But I always like to know that these projects are going to something bigger than just the noise it makes. I like to know that somebody has some personal connection to it, or somebody who bought it is passionate about it, right?
Yeah, it's surprising how connected they were to. Like Shaq would FaceTime me at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'd be like, yes.
I love one of my favorite quotes from Shaq ever was talking about his kids, and they were talking about being rich, and he goes, "You ain't rich, I'm rich," because he wants to teach his kids like how to make a way for yourself. It's not just going to be handed to you. And from a parent standpoint, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, very much so.
So you guys have 6 episodes that are out. The show launched on Discovery Channel on August 12th, and they're doing. I believe they're still doing the show reruns right now through that, right? Or the end of the show It's
they're running it on HBO right now.
okay.
So originally you could only watch on Discovery Channel. Now you can get it on HBO, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
out.
they're basically 1 hour each. There's a cool promo teaser. So if you go to YouTube and you just type in show series, which is Truck Dynasty, and teaser, it'll come up. Obviously the family's involved, right? Because they kind of make characters out of each of you, and you all kind of have your place on the show. How realistic is that to the interaction of everybody in the shop? And do you have guys in the shop who kind of played up for the cameras, or that's just how it is?
If anything, it was watered down. When we watched it, I was like, oh, thank God they took out all the cursing and the screaming and the throwing of tools. Like it was that stuff is pretty realistic. Like, none of us are actors. I think they caught on to that really well right at the beginning. Like, if we ask these guys to read a line, it's going to be horrible. So they just spent so much time here that I think they were able to capture something organically. Like the time frame of how much time they spend here versus the time frame that's actually on TV is this much time actually here with cameras to make this much TV.
Oh yeah.
And they just they were just there. Like they knew nobody here. It's all mechanics and stuff, right? Nobody's gonna put it on for them. But if you hear all day long, you're gonna catch some craziness.
I spent a lot of time in shops over the years, and I remember when the shop TV shows first started getting big. A buddy of mine owned a shop. I used to hang out behind his counter a bunch, and we would always ideate like funny shop ideas for like a TV show. And one is like be the grumpy counter guy and don't sell anybody anything. Like have them come in, and because at that time he was getting all these people walking through the front door, and they would complain about, or they would ask questions and then complain that you wouldn't give them all the answers. I'm like, well, do you have money or not? Like, you're paying for the knowledge here. You're just going to go down to the dude down the street who's going to do it cheaper, And I thought, man, what a funny show that would be.
Right.
Anybody who owns a shop knows that deal, right?
Like, we swipe your credit card first, and I'll tell you what teeth fit with what gear.
Yeah. Or the person who's like, what do you mean your shop labor rate's $150 an hour? It took you 5 minutes to do it. I go, yeah, but you didn't pay me an hour. You paid me for my expertise so I could do it quickly. That's how I make my money, right? There's a lot of that kind of stuff. So on the builds, obviously you guys are doing these, big 6x6, this and that, but like there's some special tweaks on there. For example, on Guy Fieri's truck, you guys did like a mobile kitchen that pulled out. You did some, branding stuff with superheroes on shacks because that's kind of his thing.
Loves it.
How do you get there? How do you get to those ideas? And then obviously it's one thing to be like, oh, we're putting shocks, wheels, and tires on this. Another thing to build a mobile kitchen. How much input do they have, and how did you know like what parts to get and how to customize it for those guys?
My sales guys are very liberal with this stuff. Like they know that the shop is going to come through for them. And like, it frustrates me at times that, like you promised them what? And then, we've never done that before. But that's kind of how innovation happens here at our shop, is that the sales guy and the customer get chatting, and they're like, yeah, that would be cool. No, that'd be cool. No, let's and then all of a sudden it's written up on a repair order, lines that are like, make kitchen in back. See Joe figure it out. You're like, okay. And you put 7 labor hours on that? Perfect. Thanks. All right.
Yeah, you got a 0 and a decimal point. So how's it affected you guys in the shop with the, show running? Did that blow up your phones? Have you had people just wandering by to see if you're real, like tourists and stuff, or is business gotten better? Like what is the wait time now 2 years instead of 1 year? What's that been like?
Oh, no, look, it hasn't gotten crazy. Certainly things have picked up a bit, right? We have 2 sides to the shop, right? We've got the skunk work spot, which is like 4 or 5 bays where we're just doing ridiculousness, right? Things that not supposed to happen, I'm going to call it. And then we've got the other 27 bays where we're doing, lift, wheels, tires, stuff we've done 100 times, stuff we're really, really good at. And we don't want to grow any faster than what we can put out quality, right? So that's really our governor there, is that, yeah, we can, build the entire truck in maybe, 7 to 10 days, but it still takes, no matter how fast you build it, 7 to 10 days of inspecting it, quality control before that thing leaves here. So that's our governor, if you will, right? Yeah. But yeah, things are definitely picking up. Definitely the phones are ringing. I was driving around the other day and somebody was like, "You're Joe from Apocalypse." I was like, my wife is never here when this happens. She's never going to believe that somebody recognized me.
I've had a couple times. One was I used to tell my guys who worked for me at Motor Trend, 4-Wheeler Magazine, and on the off-road group, I used to say, because I get young guys come in and they're like, "Oh, I'm a magazine guy, blah blah blah." Trucking Magazine back in the day, I worked at Truckin', all those places. I used to tell the new guys, like, if they don't know who you are in the airport, you're not famous. So don't be like big timing anybody, because like you'll be like, "Oh, I'm so and so, I have camera equipment," and the dude, doing security, he doesn't care, right?
Right.
If he doesn't care, nobody cares. But my two funny ones were at the SEMA show. I was walking through somebody, and I was wearing my Truck Show podcast shirt, and somebody's like, "Oh, dude, I love the podcast." And my former business partner, Lightning, who co-hosted this with me, we were joking. We're like, "You've never heard the show?" And then he said something like one of our jingles from the show. We're like, "Oh, you know the show!" So that was pretty cool. And then one time, I'm an usher at church. I'm passing around the collection basket, and the guy hands me the collection basket. He goes, "Do you have a podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "It's really good." So those are
That's
like two
awesome.
weird. I mean, I'm audio, so nobody knows what I look like, but it's funny when that happens.
Yeah, I like the airport litmus test. You're like, if you can stand in an
Yeah.
airport, which I walk through an airport, no one knows who I am.
Yeah,
He's like,
that's the deal. Listen, if nobody cares who you are in an airport, nobody cares who you are pretty much anywhere. Because the airport will always be some rando that will find you when you're, half burger in your mouth, with like sauce on your beard or something like that, right?
like
So,
a company tell you I'm not there yet.
yeah, well, me either. So I'm kind of curious, like, you're building trucks. What is the international response been, and what countries have you sold trucks to? Because I know for sure that there's people overseas who see this American craziness and they're all over it. Because there's pockets in Europe, the Middle East, Australia, where people see this stuff and they're like, "We can't get this stuff here. I need to be the only guy in my country with one of these." What's that been like?
Definitely the Middle East, Dubai.
Yeah.
We've we've had a bunch of that. Jerry Jr. is good at doing them because like the hours don't really match up with working hours here, so that phone call doesn't line up. But he'll do the WhatsApp thing and whatnot. But certainly we've sold a bunch of them to the Middle East. The juggernauts. I've got a picture of two of our fully built juggernauts sitting in a C-130 cargo plane
Oh my God.
outside. Because the guy didn't want to wait till ocean freight it there, and that to me that was probably one of the wildest sales we've ever had.
That's crazy. I was looking on the website, soflowcustoms.com, and you guys have like, what is it, like a 50,000 square foot facility? I mean, that's huge, and it was packed. It wasn't like, yeah, hey, we've got 4 or 5 trucks in here that we're working on. No, dude, you guys, they were like stacked like cordwood inside the
Yeah.
inside the business. You guys are 50,000 square feet, and you are doing that much business. Life must be pretty good.
Well, we're staying busy. We are staying busy. These guys, they are hardworking. People ask you what you think the difference in your company and other folks doing off road. I'm like, everybody in my company works a lot harder than the folks in your company. I promise you. And they're using every inch of that shop floor, and we've gotten to a point where if we could put a tent outside and do some more, we would.
Well, next time I get to Florida, it's been a couple of years, but I would love to come by and see you guys in person. I think it would be pretty cool.
Please do, man. I'd love to show you around some of the ridiculous stuff we're building. And never rent a car when you come to Florida. Come down, drive one of mine.
Done. Because last time I flew into Orlando, man, it was such a like ordeal. And even it's probably like, I don't know, it's been a while since I've been to Miami. Normally, if I go to Miami, I'm out scouting for like cigar shops and stuff down there to get the good stuff.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, we were down there, I don't know, years ago for a magazine deal, and so where were we? Oh, we're doing some stuff with American Force before American Force got bought, and they had that little facility, and so we went fishing with those guys, and we were out in the town. I remember we found this little cigar shop in downtown Miami, and we pulled in, and it was just like out of a movie. There's some dude wearing like a Panama hat with like a linen shirt, like half unbuttoned with his gold chain. He's like, what do you boys want? We're like, yeah, this is the place. So we got some good stuff out the back there. I don't know if you're a cigar guy, but
You got the authentic Miami experience, bro.
yeah. Well, and we were like, we just pulled off the street. We were looking for cigar shops that were open at 11 o'clock. I don't even know what neighborhood we were in or anything. We're just a bunch of 4 dumbasses who pulled up in a rental car, like, "Hey, we want to smoke a cigar." This guy's going, "I'm going to charge
Come to the
double for
back.
you guys." But yeah, I'd love to get down there and see you guys in person. That'd be super rad.
Yeah, man.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. I know you're busy, and I just want to let everybody know if you're looking for some wild, outrageous, pretty rad looking customs, apocalypse6x6.com or SoFloCustoms.com. You can find them on social at SoFloCustoms 4x4 or at Apocalypse6x6. And of course, the TV show Truck Dynasty on Discovery Channel, and apparently now streaming on HBO Max if you got that as well, right?
Thank you so much for having me. Really, man. I appreciate it. This was cool.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I could tell that if I went down there, we'd hang out and probably get into some trouble.
Agreed. Looking forward to it.
All right, well, don't be a stranger, and let's stay in touch, because if you got anything else coming up that's cool or you want to talk about, we'd love to have you back on the show.
10-4. Will do.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe.
See you, man.
Man, he was a great interview, and I love when we can feel the passion from someone we have on the show. It's so great. It just makes it so much better when you feel like you could go on for a couple more hours. But I know that you guys don't have time for 2-hour shows anymore, so doing my best to not do those. I know you guys don't have time for 2-hour shows anymore, but in the last episode, I promised to read an email. Our buddy Ray had written and said, hey, you didn't read the email with the update from my buddy who bought the truck that you gave him the advice on the show. And so I went, oh, geez, that's buried in the inbox. Let's go find it. So let's read an email.
You email? Yeah. I email? Do it. We email? That's right. Everybody email. Type it up. You email? Proofread. I email? Send it. We email? Click it. Everybody email.
Let it roll. All right, so just to catch you up, Ray had written us a while back, and he had basically some questions for his friend Dave, and he said, hey, he's trying to figure out the best vehicle. He's looking at RHO. He was looking at a Power Wagon, 8 to 10 trips a year, going up to Death Valley, going off-road, rarely tows, all that. So we had talked about it on the show and kind of pointed him in the right direction. So in July, he had written that Dave is leaning toward the RHO, and Ray said, hey, you should buy a Power Wagon, even if you're leaning toward the RHO. So he said he would follow up, and he did. So he did an update in July, and he had ordered an RHO from a dealership. And he says they weren't able to drive it, but they did drive the Rebel with a standard output Hurricane, and they both really liked it. In November, here's the update. Hello again, Sean. As promised, this is the follow-up now that Dave has had his 26 RHO on a few trips to the desert. As mentioned in the last email, the order was placed on 7/24, and Dave took delivery on 10/7. 75 days total. Not too bad considering model year switchover. In a nutshell, he loves the RHO and is amazed at how it swallows up rough and washboard roads compared to any other truck he's ever owned or driven, and how comfortable it is and easy to drive on the highway. It took a bit for Dave to adapt to the throttle control in the RHO when off-roading versus his outgoing 2020 Rebel Eco Diesel, but he's got it now and thoroughly enjoys every minute of driving it. And then he asked a couple questions about relocating the Chimsel to a camper shell and all that, but I think he kind of figured it out, and it's been a while, so hopefully he has by now. And he also had a question about the Mopar rock sliders and them not being connected to the frame. I can't remember if those are connected to the pinch weld or what the mounting is on those, but I'd have to see which versions, because there's like a traditional rock rail one, and then there's kind of like a more of a plate. So it would depend on which ones they have. The beefier Mopar rock rails I've used before, and they work great. Anyway, it said, love the recent AMSOIL sponsored racing episode, which was a while ago. And congratulations on the Redemption Run road trip with the new 392 in Yafer, Colorado Highway Patrol, bagging the a-hole driver that was harassing you. Thanks and best regards, Ray. Yeah, if you remember when I was driving the 392 back, I-70 in Colorado, I had a guy that was just burying his nose on my butt while I was going through the construction zone, and he got yanked by Colorado State Troopers or Highway Patrol, so I greatly appreciated that. So anyway, Ray, thank you so much for sending in the email and giving us the update, and I know I owed that to you. I apologize for forgetting that one and missing it and not getting it on the show. So I feel like we're square now, and we've got, I think, one voicemail in the 5-star hotline. I'm going to play it, even though it's older, because I want you guys to remember we have the 5-star hotline, 657-205-6105, and we like hearing voicemail. So here we go.
Oh, come on and be part of the show. Call the 5-star hotline. 657-205-6105. It's the 5-star hotline. 5-star hotline.
Sean, hey, it's Rich and Holster, and to everybody listening, I hope you all had a really nice Christmas and a wonderful New Year, and just want to let you know, Sean, just how grateful I am for you and your family. I'm so grateful that you survived what you did, we all are lucky to have you. We're what by God's grace alone, man, these things happen. So what a miracle. Let's hope that none of us have any of these tragedies in 2026, and that 2026 is just a year of joy and a year of ordering more parts for our trucks and trying to explain it off to the wife. So I love you, dude, your whole family. I've got a guitar for your daughter, so at some point I just need to either bring it down and see you guys or whatever, but I got a guitar signed by all of the employees, something that we got for her through everything you guys went through. And just miss you, dude. Thanks for everything you do with the podcast and for everything else. And Phil kind of spoiled these last few days with all the extra episodes, so keep it up. All right, dude. Talk to you later. Bye.
Man, appreciate it, Rich. Love you guys too. And Rich is one of our earliest listeners. He also came down and helped me build the pod shed, and he's got a great family. And that's awesome about the guitar. We'll have to figure something out for that. But dude, sorry I got to this one late, and I know we did a string of episodes, and then we kind of slowed down a little bit. I swear I'm working my way back up. So we've got some more coming, but hopefully this one was a good one for you guys. And please don't forget, send me some voicemails, 657-205-6105. I love hearing from you guys, and honestly, it keeps me going. It's voicemails like that make me go, okay, I'm gonna get up and do a podcast today. And so thank you so much, and I appreciate you, Rich, and I appreciate all of our podcast listeners. So on that note, time to end the show. Well, this one anyway. And I already mentioned the 5-star hotline, but I'm not beyond repeating myself. 657-205-6105. Be on the show.
The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show, oh, oh.
And send me your thoughts or what's going on or questions, concerns, anything. Shoot me an email, truckshowpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, if you need some extra Truck Show podcast content, you can follow us on social at Truck Show Podcast or at Sean P. Holman. And you should definitely consider joining the Facebook group. If you're on Facebook and you're looking for a good, wholesome group full of truck fellowship, then none other than the Podshed Insiders. You guys are popping off in there right now. It's stuff about snow and project vehicles, all sorts of stuff. I think we'll check in the next episode and do a recap on some of the conversations happening in there, but it really is awesome. All right, got to thank our sponsors. Of course, we're starting with AMSOIL. AMSOIL, great people, amazing product, super supportive of the show. Wouldn't be here without them, to be honest. So for those of you who love your vehicle as much as we do, and you want the best synthetics and lubricants, greases, oil change kits, car care products, AMSOIL merch, like the shirt I'm wearing right now, then you want to go to AMSOIL.com and give yourself and your vehicle a little treat. Also, if you're looking for a knife, you get awesome knives at a great price from Kershaw Knives. You can find them at kershaw.kaiusa.com. And the best in high-quality adventure, gear, lifestyle, and vehicle reviews, only found in the pages of OVR Magazine. Get free access to our digital library for free. Free access for free. Or discount on print by heading to OVRmag.com and using the code @TruckShowPodcast. Also, if you're ever looking for the magazine, we're nationwide at Barnes & Noble and Books A Million, so you can find it on the newsstand, so that's pretty cool too. Anyway, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will look forward to talking to you soon.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis, hosted by Sean Holman, and uses production elements by DJ Omar Khan and Jay Tillis. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and leave us a 5-star review. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to support the show than by sharing it and patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.
What? Looks like they're having fun.